everyone. Hi, hello. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday, as I said. Welcome to another week. Welcome to another episode of VCTV, the Venture Capital TV from La Token. So this is the beginning of the week, and we have got full house. That's a good thing for a start. And today we're going to discuss about RemoTech, human resource, and recruitment. That's a new topic that you've just introduced for the panel today. Again, I'm very excited because today we have people from various parts of the world. So we have people from US, Caribbean, France, Dubai. I'm trying to remember, but I'm going to obviously let them introduce where they're from, dialing in from today. So basically, before we start the show, I would like to start a small talk, sort of introducing VCTV, the concept that was introduced. The whole platform was launched in February 2020 this year. Obviously this year, because as you must have known already so far, La Token we host blockchain economic. We used to host blockchain economic forum, the roadshows, the physical roadshows to connect people like yourself to each other, right? Investors, founders, all at one place. So we used to do like travel across the world and do the shows. So everything stopped because of the coronavirus. That's why we are here. So we moved everything online. So that's where we are now, connecting from different parts of the world. And I think it's much more effective because we have people from different parts of the world into one time zone, right? So that's the beauty about this platform. Okay, now enough about VCTV. About me, my name is Sunny Mohanty. I host VCTV Monday to Friday, as all of you know, at 8 p.m. Very fixed timing for me, 8 p.m. Singapore, because I live in Singapore. So it's 8 p.m. Singapore time. And I've been doing this since February, March this year. And I love VCTV. I meet such great people. I make new friends every day. I mean, what can be more exciting than that? Besides, obviously, learning a lot of things and helping founders connect with the investors. I mean, nothing can get better than this. So thank you so much again for your time and your commitment. So I'm going to start not in any order, just the way I see on my Zoom lobby. I see Jose first on my Zoom lobby. So Jose, welcome to VCTV. Welcome to the Monday episode of VCTV. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was a fantastic weekend, Sonny. Thank you for having me on your show today. I really enjoyed it every time that I'm on VCTV.
Okay, great, excellent. Welcome back again. Next, I see on my Zoom lobby, Sergey. Hi, Sergey, welcome back.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. Very happy to be here and hope everyone's Monday is kind of energetic. So, we're a full house here, so that's great. Good way to start a Monday.
Of course, that was the best part of the show today. When I saw like nobody has canceled, I was like super happy and excited. Thank you, Sergey. Thanks and welcome back to VCTV. Next, I see in my Zoom lobby, Telly. Hi, Telly. Welcome back. I love that background. It's so soothing.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for having me back again. This will be my second show this morning. I was with Gary early this morning.
Yeah.
It's great to be on VCTV. So.
Yeah.
Hello from the Caribbean.
Yeah. Thank you. Gary. Next, I see Gary in that order. Yeah. Hi, Gary. Welcome back.
No, good to see you today. And happy Friday. Great start to the week. And, my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. And I love artificial intelligence. And by the way, I started one of the top AI HR tech companies in the world. Actually, have won several awards. So Yva. So really excited about this, and especially during this pandemic and the ability to manage the remote workforce. So it's a great time and a great topic, and great to be here and to see all my friends, Sergey and Telly and Jose and Kartik, and Sunny and Carol. It seems like a family here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Gary, so much, and welcome back to the Monday episode of VCTV. Next, I have, last but not least, Kartik. Hi, Kartik. Welcome back. How are you?
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and happy Monday to all of you. It's been now, I think, the 5th or the 6th time on the show, and it's always fun to discuss and learn new things. And remote tech, HR tech, and recruitment, I think most contemporary and most important elements for any business, be it from a venture fund point of view or from a business point of view, to learn, understand, and execute. So yeah, it's fabulous to be on the show. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Karthik, and thank you so much. Again, I just want to thank you so much for committing your time to the show today. Great. So we are done with the introductions now. So today's topic is very close to me because we all are working remotely. Most of us now are working remotely. So I've been working remotely since the beginning of this year, 100% virtual. And it's been the most, I would say, most efficient way of work I've realized personally. So what are companies, what are startups doing in the space? Let's start with Jose with his insights about the trends first. Let's discuss about the trends in the space. What happened? We are almost ending this year. Like we are in November, one month more to go, and we're done with 2020. So what kind of trends have you seen in the space, Jose? Over to you.
So I always like to look back in history, not only because I wanted to become an archaeologist initially, but I also feel that history can learn you a lot of lessons, especially because history repeats itself over and over again, but just in a different format. So I just put on LinkedIn a video from 1956. And it was very, very enlightening that if you see that video, then in 1956, they predicted more or less, I would say like 90% what is today, 2020. And that video was intended to show how it would be in 2020. So, it was like a hit. And I was really surprised. And this area which we are touching today is not an exception. I've always been handling remote teams my whole life. And 100% remote team since 1990, so it's quite a long time ago. And what I can tell you is that today you just have fantastic, fabulous tools to be able to manage them that you didn't have like 30 years ago or even 10 years ago, right? So the internet brought a huge amount of advantages. And the next step, what I see is that with AI and machine learning, and I always like to talk about neural networks because it's part of the whole concept. A lot of things that you normally would do to manage your stuff, that's not needed anymore because you have machines that can help you in managing and analyzing all that data, right? So that's where I see the trend going. Definitely, I can tell you one thing. I've been managing the last 6 years people basically in that frame, that technology-wise. We don't even look. Their computers basically are every 15 seconds. It takes a print screen or it takes a video, and we don't even look at it because what we do is we just let computers handle it and do the analytics, right? And then if some red flag comes out, you pick it out statistical wise. If there's today it's really amazing what you can do. So for future seeing, what I see is there definitely AI for managing stuff, but not only, also for selection.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jose. I agree. I totally agree with what the points you just mentioned. Just want to add a little point. At LaunchGurus, I mean, we are like a very global company, and I see recruitment happening from all over the world, and we are working people from all over the world in such a nice way. I mean, I would say if beyond COVID, I think companies are definitely going to stick to this model. Very, very efficient model. Thank you so much, Jose. Next, Sergey, over to you, please. Please share your insights about the trends. Thank you.
Well, it's great. It's great. That's how you actually meet. I'm talking about Jose. That's how you meet fellow historians, because I have a master's degree in history.
Right.
Okay.
Oh.
So, well, I think he was absolutely right. And what we've seen this year is strengthening actually the positions of the same companies that we've seen before. I mean, Zoom, Slack, all the companies that help with the remote work. What we've seen actually is traditional companies finally transitioning to remote, and that was kind of painful process for them because they were not ready. So that were, you know, the companies, for example, we have a partner company, Infosys, and they based in Southeast Asia also, and they helped, you know, they had a lot of work helping with digital transformation for these companies because they had no idea how to transform all these processes fully to digital. I mean, we all have great experience, you know, working with digital and for more than 10 years, of course, but these companies, for them, it was really, you know, unexpected changes. Unfortunately, what I've also seen in startup world, they tried to copy the old business models and the old solutions, you know, just saying that, okay, we're building a Slack for something else, right? And that wasn't the right way to get investments. For some investors might bought that, but most of them were very reluctant, you know, in buying the same old business model. So I think we'll see in the next years the startups that were born this year, and they will, you know, propose some different solutions that we've seen before. And one other thing that I wanted to say is, well, what we see in venture capital world, it's still a matter of trust. And what is hard to get online if you never met these people. Okay, if we speak about, you know, talks between startups and VCs, they don't have that much time to get acquainted. And most of the VCs that I know still prefer to invest in startups they've met somewhere or they know personally from somewhere. They're quite reluctant to invest a significant amount of money if they just read the pitch and have no ability to meet these people in person or to see their processes in person. So there's still a problem that waits to be solved, because if we'll see longer time, you know, being lockdowns and not being able to travel to meet these people in person, that we probably want to have, you know, solutions that build upon this trust. That's what.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to talk about AI more from here, about how AI can help on this as well, and, you know, to build that trust. And I remember somebody, I think Gary shared about his, you can have that app on your phone. But yeah, so again, nice insights over there. So next I see on my lobby, my Zoom lobby, is Telly.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay, so
are we going to talk about, Telly, are you going to talk only from a Caribbean perspective? So that's good. I mean, what's happening in terms of trends in the space?
Well, sweetheart, while I live in St. Kitts and Nevis, we're very, very global.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's even better. That's even a lot better.
So, yeah, from the perspective of being, you know, remote tech, just like Jose, I've worked remotely for nearly, you know, half of my life, basically, in different teams. On Beyond Capital Markets and Pro House Labs, my business partner, she's in the US, so we've always worked remotely. On the Bantu Blockchain Foundation, which I'm on, it's a very distributed team between North America. I'm, of course, the only one in the Caribbean and Africa, and we work quite remotely. What is interesting is the fact that, as Jose said, there are a number of tools that have come out to kind of make collaboration a lot easier. So for us, you know, the COVID lockdown didn't really make a difference per se, because once you had access and you could connect, it's fine. The only challenge you would have is the existing infrastructure around, be it electricity or the fact that a lot of people are now utilizing the internet in a way it was never utilized before. So obviously the providers of this lovely pipeline needed to scale up in order to support. So from a remote tech standpoint, I do agree with my colleague. He did say a number of startups that came up were not necessarily innovative. They're just copycats, so maybe slight improvements, but not necessarily disruptive in this space. as it relates to remote tech. As it relates to recruitment, human resources, I am very, very interested in how AI is being used. We just recently partnered. So we have a portfolio company called OutSchool, which is the first tech school for digital finance and alternative finance for professionals. And as part of our long-term vision would be the ability to facilitate placements, facilitate apprenticeships. So there is a company in Singapore called AI Yes, they're in Singapore.
Wow.
Just partnered with them. And they're using AI for sourcing, for recruitment to accelerate that. Now, human resources has hardly ever been touched. It's still very paper-based. So I hear you when you say still in a virtual environment, there is trust. But I could tell you, we have been using certain tools to kind of build that trust, right?
Yeah.
And within the context, if I use this as an example, within the context of HR, they're able to use one identity verification. First of all, you need to know what you need to know. There is a reason why RegTech is growing and growing really fast. Now, from a compliance standpoint, for some industries, it's a factor. However, if you look at it from a positive spiel, if you can onboard and you can understand who it is you're onboarding from a RegTech perspective, you know, you do your KYC, you try and do all your checks, it does build trust. It does. And then, so after that, it's the whole issue of how do we do the recruitments, this traditional sending your CV, and you need AI to be able to pour that data and kind of create an intelligent story for you. And so with in HR, I would say the the automated tracking systems that they normally use are outdated, antiquated. But this company in Singapore is using, leveraging, I think, OpenAI. They get APIs from OpenAI, and they've built a whole business model around that. So this is an example of a traditional, you would say, company being able to innovate their business model by applying these new technologies and embedding it to create a new experience. So this is quite interesting, I would say. And then, of course, focus on ethical AI, looking at things like GDPR for privacy, because they're global, obviously.
Yeah.
If you have a European client, you want to make sure that you're adhering to the GDPR, which is in a way good, you know, because privacy is now an issue, the more data you're collecting. So you have to have permissions and so on. So it's amazing area in the area of HR. And also, again, other technologies would support that, like RegTech. Does help with building trust.
Great points, Telly. Great points. And is it because of my show that I see a lot of collaborations happening with Singapore? Like Telly just mentioned AI resourcing, and I just saw Gary in a panel, soon going to be in a panel with my Singaporean friends. And I know them, Gary, very well. Good to know that we are like the entire world is connecting.
Singapore is like the window to Asia from a tech space. That's how
Absolutely. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Telly. Thank you for sharing those insights. Next, I see in my lobby, Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I mean, you were building relationship with Bangladesh, now Singapore. Those two ladies are my friend. I know them well.
Wow, it's a small world after all. Sounds like the Disney song.
Very much like that. Cool. That's the whole point, you know, about
absolutely connect the dots.
Yeah. So from your perspective, over this year 2020, we're nearly end of the year. So I mean, let's talk about the trends and where the future is headed to in terms of recruitment, in terms of HR tech, in terms of remote tech. In my perspective, this is the more efficient way. I would like to know more from you.
Well, I mean,
Gary.
Some people say the #1 AI HR tech company in the world is one I built called Yva.ai. I'm the co-founder of the company. So I can tell you 2 years ago when we were talking about it, people were, I felt like Elon Musk in the electric car because people would say, oh, you don't need this. Why do we need this? And I'm like, and my partner and I sat down and pivoted the company because think about where we're going, right? We're talking about these democratizations of opportunity. Now we've got another level of challenge. The challenge is think about it today. This is, again, the keep it simple, stupid philosophy of mine, which is, I'm a country boy. If you got people spread out all over the world, how in the world do you manage them? So if I'm in Singapore, I'm in Moscow, I'm in Kiev, I'm in Jakarta, how do you know what's happening with that person? Think about what we do today. You have a review every 6 months or every quarter or every year.
Yeah.
And that's how you determine what's happening with that employee. But what happens in the interim? How do you have a pulse on what's happening? So what we said is I wanted to develop a company that actually looks at those environments, because why? We need to know what's happening. The intellectual capital of the company is located in each one of those employees. And so we need to figure out how to maximize the opportunity, because now we had the issue with COVID and not being able to go in an office. So how do you know when somebody's happy? How do you know when they're going to quit, right? They're not happy.
Yeah.
And why are they going to quit? And how can we intervene to make it better? How do we make people more productive so everybody's happy? How do we know which departments are relating with one another? How do we know the relationships with customers? Are they positive relationships, negative relationships, et cetera? So that's where Yva comes in, and and other companies. So I'm not just saying ours, but this is the right application of semi-supervised and unsupervised AI. So imagine that you're located in Singapore and you've got an office, your main office is in Singapore, with an office in Silicon Valley, an office in St. Kitts or London. Now, imagine having 10,000 people. Now, here I am as CEO of the company. How do I know what's happening? Well, imagine having a tool that can go out, or tools that can go out and take a pulse of that environment. What are the sentiments within that particular department? Do they feel good about the company or bad? Let's gamify it. Let's have some, the person that writes the most productive emails gets a cup, a virtual cup, right? That says, congratulations, you win. What happens? The whole I got to tell you directly. So my own productivity went up 17% just because I understood that I wanted to get better at the email, and the system started training me.
Right.
I believe today, this digital transformation has opened up the greatest opportunity. Why? Because it's more of a level playing field. Look at where we are today. Sergey's in what? I think you're in Singapore still. You're in Singapore, St. Kitts. Here I am right now, normally in Silicon Valley, but in Florida. We've now democratized the opportunity, but we need to make sure, if we're a corporation, we maximize the potential of each one of our employees. We need to know. I can tell with my tool 6 months in advance when somebody's going to quit. Before they even know themselves they're going to leave a company, I can actually start to get alerts. Now imagine if I have a high valued employee and I'm in Intel or I'm in NVIDIA, and I know in advance that something's going to happen to a high value employee. Now I can intervene. Why does it happen? They don't get along with their managers, or they don't get along with fellow coworkers. So let's figure out how to be able to adapt. That's the way it should have been all the time. The problem is human resources had been very archaic. Now they've got to step up. This whole idea with this pandemic, we may, I don't know what it's like in Singapore. I think Singapore is a lot better, but we're hitting record levels in the US right now. People aren't going into the office and they're lockdowns. So now imagine there's a window of opportunity where we can actually understand from pulse surveys and also from, scanning information within a corporation, how that person feels and to course correct. It's like having a doctor to be able to go in for a physical checkup. So you know every day what's happening with you so you can change it before it's a problem. I love it. It's our inbound interest, just FYI, Sonny, at the beginning of the pandemic, inbound interest in my company is up 38 times, 38.
No
and
wonder.
So it's every company has to figure out how to deal with remote employees today. What are they doing? Are they productive or not? Are they focused on the right tasks? from my own perspective, people are very efficient, but it's taken a while for them to adjust working out of their homes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously that's a little different sort of challenge when you're working from home, like the home, especially when schools shut down as well. I don't know. Singapore schools are open, but here India schools are become online schools now. So you have children around your home office. So probably that's a bit of a challenge, but
people are a lot more accepting, aren't they? So, if my basset hound comes into the room and starts to bark, because people are a lot more accepting today than they were before. So on the other side, think about how more efficient we are. So this whole idea with remote workforce management, how much more efficient? Because I don't know about you, but in Silicon Valley, I travel up to 2 hours each way every day.
Wow.
It takes me that long to get into my office.
That's a big, I can imagine. It's a huge country. So, but in Singapore, I don't have to spend that time.
It wasn't a long commute. The problem is because traffic's so bad, it's so congested, it could take 2 hours. So think about how much more efficient you are. I mean, it's just fantastic, actually, because I literally get up the same time every morning, 5:30, 5 o'clock, even today, that I did before. The difference is I would start being on the road. Now I can be productive even later. And I wouldn't leave my office till 7 or 8 o'clock because traffic sucked. And I wouldn't get home till 10. So now we're efficient. So the companies that actually use the technology to help them, think about it. HR has been pretty archaic, right? There haven't been that many innovations in how to deal with this intellectual capital of the companies. Now they're in existence. And so I'm excited about it. The digital transformation has pushed us forward faster than was imagined. McKinsey said within 10 years, 92% of the companies said they would be going through digital transformation. Well, that has happened in a matter of months. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much.
I wanted to add one thing to what Gary said. Sorry, I know it's Kartik. It's next going to Kartik going to be speaking, but I just want to add something. I'm not that very much excited about just being very overproductive and all and else, simply because we work a lot with the Southeast Asian companies, and I know we talked about this with you, Sunny, that Asian people are way more prone to socializing at the workplace. So when they were, without that, actually we saw that for many people, productivity failed and dropped down, and they were not able to eat food together. And the food for these people, it's vital. It's actually when you eat food, that's what when you socialize again. So that's what I wanted to add. It's not just probably the positives, but we also have some issues that might be able to resolve through the online. I don't know.
Yes, very much. I mean, the person to person, that personal sort of relationship is not there. I mean, obviously that is a whole level of different situation, problem, I would say. I agree to you, Sergey. I mean, I don't know, how to solve that, but through just virtual tools like this. Let's hear from Kartik. Kartik, your insights, please.
So I have two different perspectives to this. One from a typical operational and a business point of view, and one is from a venture capitalist or an investment side of view. I would give you an example. Around 4 years ago, when I was heading a duty-free business, I used to travel typically 320 days a year, more than 800 flights, and running a $2.5 to $3 million air travel and hotel expenses every year. And with 9 senior executives in my business, roughly around $24-25 million used to get spent only on traveling and global businesses. Managing a 7,000 people workforce across 44 different countries was a challenge. Challenge in terms of managing their schedules, managing their performance appraisals, finding the right talent, managing workforces that used to work on contractual basis, ensuring consultants are paid on time, doing a due diligence on the talent and trying to find the best talent possible. And above all, ensuring efficiencies across time zones. When you work 7 continents, you sometimes realize that 24 hours are not enough. Then came the pandemic, and today I realize that nothing's changed. The business continues to remain the same, and we continue to work with the same efficiency, and I don't see a reason to travel. I am absolutely happy working 3 time zones and still be on your TV show and still be on a few other programs and still meet people and still socialize and still play golf and still meet my friends. It's just about the way technology's changed and made things possible. Pandemic has like Gary said, pandemic has quadrupled or maybe multiplied the pace of acceleration of change. Today, I realized that doing a due diligence on a CV through a typical network, trying to understand what are the gaps on a profile, doing background checks, working with freelance and temporary staff and recruiting them on project basis. More importantly, putting KPIs, roadblocks that automatically measure their efficiency and reward them without people being involved, or bringing in algorithms and logic that evaluate not only quantitatively but certain qualitative aspects of somebody's work process as well, are making this entire process much more invigorated and much more fast, much faster. From an investment point of view, I would say early stages in the business. There have been some runaway success stories, but what everybody is trying to do is to, I wouldn't say copy it, but trying to rebuild the same success story with different flavors. What we necessarily need some work to be done is in the performance evaluation space. Making work easy space is already there. There are a lot of people who have made work easy, remote communication, work from home. I mean, everybody's trying to build it. But performance evaluation, task management, what Monday.com's been able to do or what Asana has been doing in the space is where we need a lot more involvement, where group work across multiple geographies, multiple KPIs come together is what Trello has been trying to do. And Trello has been very successful. Post-pandemic, Trello's work efforts and Trello's, it primarily comes in from the efforts that they've made and their involvement with Google's helped the algorithms grow faster. But that is the space where we need a lot more investments. I see some investments coming in from Middle East. I see some investments coming from Western Europe into this, but technically from the subcontinent, I don't see a lot of traction happening. Having said that, I would be very keen to focus and rather support and mentor a few businesses that are also trying to come into a collaborative and group working efforts rather than working on an individual platforms. And more importantly, because the world has now moved on from 100% employee-based businesses to a lot of consultative contractual employments, trying to find the right contractual employment opportunities and build people along with match their competencies with the tasks at home. What Amazon's been trying to do in the Global Recruitment Forum is it lists competencies, it lists tasks, and it lists responsibilities. You upload your CV and their AI matches all of them with certain keywords. And then it tries and gives you a logic that, okay, this employee or this contractual guy might be the right fit for you. That is where we need a lot more work to be done on. But yeah, I'm excited about this space.
Thank you, Karthik, for sharing those insights as well with us. 30 minutes into the show, I'd like to go with Jose. The next question, Jose, what are the recent investments that have been made into the space, and what is your advice to those startups who are looking to get some funding in the space? Over to you, Jose.
So we have been making investments in an area that we find it's very exciting for us. It touches a lot of areas. So what we have been trying to preach and what we say constantly is that we want micro and self-employed to be able to work like Fortune 500 CEOs. And, Fortune 500 CEOs, they have a bunch of staff below them working and executing a lot of, of these tasks, right? They don't really execute themselves. What they do is they make the right decisions. And we have been saying this now for quite a long time. And that's where I also see that the HR will go into, and we can go into that a little bit deeper in a few seconds, is that, today your staff is not only your employees, it's also your machines. Because the whole setup that you have, your whole technology and all those machines, they account today for a huge amount of stuff that you would have to have if you would not have these machines, right? I'll give you just a small example. One of my first jobs was being an accountant for KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines.
Wow.
And at that time, right, we had these manual airway bills, okay, and I was a troubleshooter and solving, let's say, accounting problems. And we had these airway bills, and sometimes we had a loop, like a Sherlock Holmes, because we could not even read the handwriting of somebody and wanted to figure out what it was. Now, and this is today, you imagine that you would have machines, right, to do that. And this is the fact. right? So what we are heavily investing is we are going to bring, okay, to all self-employed micro business owners and all those guys who want to kick off a business, an ecosystem that makes them work like Fortune 500 CEOs, where they are not able to spend 75% of their time on repetitive administrative tasks that is really not needed anymore today. Now, getting to Telly and also back to Kartik, which I strongly believe what they say makes sense. You don't need to meet physically. What you need is to do background checks, right? So all our staff, we do background checks. We want to know with whom we are dealing. And if you have some doubts, then you do it a little bit deeper. But in general, that works quite well. And background checks means also that you can talk to their network and figure out who they are.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what you want to know.
Totally.
Okay?
Yes.
So you have a lot of tools. Now, maybe there is already a tool for that. And I can give you one tool that works very well. Crystal Reports. There's a plugin you use in Chrome. Okay. And I can tell you that if I use it, and I put it in Chrome, I go to your LinkedIn profile, it gives me a lot of data related to your personality, a lot. Okay. So those tools, right, they exist on the market. So what I'm saying is it's not fortune telling or future telling, right? It's effectively a lot of tools already exist. People just don't know that they exist. That's the issue. So we at BizMoney, right? What we do is we have 12 people working in 12 different countries. Okay. It would not be able for us to manage all these people with the different time zones on a daily basis if we would not have the right tools. So definitely where people should invest in, and that's what I recommend, is look at what AI and machine learning and neural networks can bring to you to the table, because that's your remote workforce in combination with your physical staff for the future. And that's what I definitely would look into.
Great. Crystal Reports, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do my own research after this. Thank you, Jose, for that. Sergey, next I have you. So what are the recent investments that have been made in the space? And what's your best advice to founders who are looking to raise funds in the space?
There is one thing that Jose mentioned, and that reminded me of this tool that he mentioned, that reminded me that about 12 years ago, together with my partners, we developed a tool that we successfully sold to one of the telecom players. It actually analyzed your messages and profiled you as one of the types to do a direct advertising. So that was like even at that time, there were these kind of tools that analyzed the data that was available at the public sources and give you back, some insights and valuable information for those who do the marketing. As for the recent investments, what we currently do, for example, we have a startup based in Hong Kong called Worker, and they also try to disrupt the HR tech. But what we see, for example, just recently, about 2 years ago, company Your Flock was based in Manchester. It was funded for about £400,000, and it's pivoted to basically being a digital coach for Gen X, Y, and Z. We consulted one of the biggest tech talent platform in Asia, GetLinks.
Right.
And
yes.
we also they've invented this like about two years ago, because what we've seen in HR tech space is they've concentrated on recruitment, just on the recruitment. But the problem is that the recruitment space is kind of it's conservative, and the problem is that even if you try to revolutionize it, you just come with most of the companies just come up with a platform, let's say even a blockchain-powered platform, and that's it. So the issue with, for example, if some startups looking for being funded in HR tech space, Well, my advice would be, let's see, some of them say that it's still actually a question for HR tech, how exactly they will convince people and businesses to fill out all these, detailed CVs and profiles to get a proper match, because they still need to get these data from somewhere. And that's actually a bottleneck for them. So yeah, of course, because of the pandemic, there was a spike in the amount of CVs, but a drop down of demand from businesses actually due to the crisis, right? So what we've seen is many companies that started as a HR tech, for example, blockchain powered Beowulf company, but they pivoted to much wider solution providing. So for example, this Beowulf became communication platform for businesses with its own open app store concept, digital wallet software, because pure HR tech, what we've seen from valuation perspective, it's not getting valuated very well. They get lower to mediocre valuation simply because, like I said, most of these projects still remain the same job postings platform, just powered for, by blockchain for transparency. So blockchain, for example, gives a good thing in terms of data security. Yes. But there is still a question because some HR companies still dream about this data verification thing. The idea of there are so many bogus CVs, so many bogus data in these CVs. So they dream of the idea of everything being verified in blockchain. But there is another question, which data needs to be a bit of a flexible, because every job seeker knows that, and it's widely recommended by HR specialists, that they need to tailor up their profile for every, for every job they're applying to, because they need to emphasize different qualities, different things they did in this job. Will this blockchain technology help them? Will it help them? Will it provide them such flexibility? It's still a question. Will it be able to do this thing? So I think, well, my really recommendation would be to look beyond just the recruitment, to think about the solutions that might help the companies manage the workforce, as Gary said, that to help them with the operations, to help them on a much larger scale than just hiring this personnel and forget about it, right?
Great points, Sergey. Thank you so much for sharing those insights with us.
Thank you.
Next, I have Telly. Telly, would like to know what's your best advice to startups founders who are looking to raise funds in the space?
Well, first of all, you have to be very, very focused on what problem you're solving, and right down to which segment you're solving the problem. I think without that, you really don't have far to go. Look at the landscape, look at the competitors, what they're doing. I agree with Sergey. When it comes to HR tech or remote tech and all of that, normally what we're seeing is a number of people are using the same models and not necessarily embracing the incorporation of technology. And then also, as he indicated, in terms of being viable, being attractive, a normal HR tech solution might not necessarily, but now when you now incorporate, for example, aspects of fintech, assuming regtech to it, because as Jose said, you need to do background checks and verification. So if you can embed a bit of regtech for your background, a bit of even from the transactional layer, because at the end of the day, if you are doing recruitments, you should be able to facilitate some sort of payments. Or if it is you're incorporating them into your business, you should be able to, like he said, incorporate maybe a wallet infrastructure or something for them to get their compensation. I see a big area in terms of benefits as well,
Right.
and insurance. That's part of your packaging. So now this takes us to the lens of where we are. And my area is digital financial market infrastructure.
Yes.
Embedded finance, okay? the way I see the model going for startups, you have to start looking at how you can leverage embedded finance. It's been done. If you look at industries like, say, in agriculture, all those ag tech startups that raised money, they did so by incorporating fintech. So this is where we are at, and this is why embedded finance is going to be huge, because if you are able to embed different aspects of that financial value chain within your business model, then it becomes more viable. So just think about the journey of someone who needs to be hired. It's not just about hiring. You have to do the background checks. That's right. You have to, you have to analyze their stuff. So you're using AI. Single source of truth, blockchain. So I agree. Blockchain isn't going to be the in and end all. So you have a decentralized applications that are being utilized. All this for us, for my company, we call it digital financial market infrastructure. And then lastly, you have to be able to then manage all of this. So yes, while there are privacy concerns, but once you get the right permission, you can actually leverage social data to kind of get an insight on their behavior, psychometric analysis, because fundamentally you want to know where the gaps are. And there are some very unique startups that you can incorporate into your entire business model to add in the psychometric analysis. So for me, you have to be a bit more holistic with your solutions. And you have to understand how to incorporate all of that.
Great points. And startups, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so that's it. Basically.
Sorry, okay. Yeah, I thought that Telly was done. So startups who are listening to Telly, very good points. You have to be very holistic. I really like those points, Telly. Thank you so much. Next, Kartik, what's your advice to startups who are looking for funding? I mean, Telly obviously mentioned very good points. Just want to hear from you as well.
So a couple of things that I would look at is I see a lot of development, and I would rather encourage a lot of development in the recruitment process, tech-enabled recruitment process and tech-enabled performance evaluation. Primarily recruitment, of 30-minute interview or a 45-minute interview, even if you do 3 layers, doesn't necessarily suffice or doesn't necessarily give you a lot of insights about. So one, obviously you need a lot of blockchain-powered AI tools, but more importantly, you need what Kaplan and Princeton did a few years ago. In the evaluation stage is what we need in the recruitment stage, where you, along with psychometric profiling, you do a lot of thematic appreciation, you start doing situational analysis, you start doing competency versus the performance goals that are expected of an employee, and start seeing how does an employee respond to that. That's one. Second is there are a lot of gray areas in performance evaluation across the globe, primarily in terms of the qualitative measures, where it starts moving in from being quantitative to qualitative. There's a lot of tech-enabled supervision. More often than not, performance evaluation fails because of supervision and recording of performance. So if you start putting an employee and tech spaces, there are a couple of startups coming in from Cyprus and Greece that I'm working on, which are primarily working on performance evaluation models, which start working with an employee from the day he starts his journey in the organization, and tracks his performance with his goals and throw exceptional reports to the supervisor about is there a course correction required. Because at the end of a quarter, when somebody tells you that you need to go through a PDP or a performance development program, it primarily is absolutely qualitative, because if I don't think that you understand finance, I'll put you into a finance function. But what part of finance do you need to go through is something that somebody needs to track you through. So there's a tracking mechanism which works parallelly. These are 2 spaces where I see a lot of development happening. In terms of an advice to an investor, advice to startups, I still follow the same old school logic which I put in 6-7 years ago into my business thoughts. Was I wouldn't encourage a tech guy only. Like I was not very comfortable with the tech guy opening up an e-commerce business and making a success out of it. I would still look at having a very rightly balanced team of a very strong HR individual who understands the philosophy of recruitment, philosophy of human resources, brings in that element of empathy, brings in an element of people and work culture, along with technology, creating a technology platform which doesn't take into account the human aspect of the HR or the recruitment function might not add the kind of value that we are looking at. That's one. Second, milestones and proof of success is something that we would need to ensure that people continue to deliver, because this is a very open space. People are likely to get carried away. We've seen a couple of investments fail and one investment succeed in last 17 months, 18 months. So I would be very mindful of this space and say that, okay, it's going to be a little bit balanced in terms of investment.
Great insights, Kartik. Great insights. So startups, please keep that in mind. Thank you so much, Kartik. Next, I have Gary. Hi, Gary. Your insights about what's a successful to be successful in this space. What the startups doing? Thank you.
Well, the situation, having gone through it, I mean, Yva pivoted 3 times. So one of the things you want to do, it's critically important that they go out and do the right kind of customer development. By that, I mean, they go out, you can develop really cool products, but you may be the only one that thinks they're cool. And they may be cool, but people don't want to pay for them. So what you need to do is do your customer development and validate your assumptions. So one of the ways that I did it, I actually took my iPhone and I would go down the streets in Palo Alto, California. I would meet arbitrary people. I came up with a presentation. I would present it to them even before I developed the product. I did it about 100 times, and my billionaire partner, David Yang, did the same thing. What happens is we got feedback. I fed the feedback back to my developers so they understood what the customers think. Then we came out with the MVP, the product. Then we tested that. We did customer development. Why? Because if you develop something in a void, you may not be right and you may be off. So take it out, get it in front of the folks, test it. The most important thing is, are people willing to pay for it? Come up with a pricing model. When I came up with my model initially, I was way too cheap, right? The market was, much less than what I could have charged for it. And so I had to look at what the value would be to the organization. Look at ROI, come up with how much would that mean to an organization. Top executives and organizations buy many times based on what's the return on investment to the company. Show them what the financial model looks like. That really helps you out a lot. The other thing is, don't give up. Remember, if you pivot, does not mean that you're failing. It means that you course corrected and moved in another direction. It's not easy doing a startup for sure. But the thing is, part of the reason people fail is because they get down through and they give up, right? They say, oh, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take a regular job. You got to course correct. So if you go down through and do that, the other thing is there's 3 models. I call it Startup 3.0 from my perspective. 1.0 is acceleration. 2.0 is regional dominance. Dominate your region, whether you're in Singapore, Vietnam, Bangladesh, India, US. Make sure that people are willing to buy it in your region. You've got 80% chance then you're going to be successful in another region. Why? Because you've now, you understand your team works together, how the product works, where the bugs are in the product, then you take it out global. That model, and that's the 3rd level. First is acceleration, 2 is regional dominance, 3 is actually going global. Then you're ready to go and you're ready to raise the right kind of money.
Excellent.
And you have revenue.
Excellent. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for that insights. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So yes, we just have a few more minutes to close the show. Before that, I'd like to take closing remarks from each of you. I'll start with Jose first. Your closing remarks for the session, please.
So I would say, as a closure is like this, we are looking for talent and at least also companies that can bring, let's say, a big advantage into the model that we have. And definitely HR is one of the aspects. Anything that has to do with artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks, and makes it easy to make decisions. That's where we are heading to. And I'm on the lookout for anything that is related to that. So you can find me on LinkedIn, which is the network I most use, on the name Jose Graca, or you can just look for BizMoney, and definitely you will find me there as well. And always happy to be on your show, Sonny. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. And one more thing, you can also find Jose on Last Token's website.
That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you, Jose. And next I have Sergey. Closing remarks, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonny. So the closing remarks would be that is for the HR HR tech, work tech, remote tech, like we all said, please look for solutions that might be, more unique and more tailored up to your specific region, as Gary said. Global dominance is a great thing, but first your solution should be working in the region where you're located at. So we like to test the solutions, for example, in Southeast Asia. For that purpose, we have our own tech and digital transformation partner and Infosys in Bangkok. So we like to bring startups from Europe and US into Thailand or to Singapore or to Hong Kong and to see how they perform there. Because in this case, if your solution is right and it's rightly tailored to your customers, I think it will be a success. But my final advice would also be, please also think about your not just revenues, but the proper accounting and the proper customer acquisition costs. Because if you just show the perfect revenues and the customer acquisition costs are bad, then probably it will be, every investor will just turn down the offer. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sergey, for adding those points. I quickly move to Telly for the closing remarks.
Okay, fairly quickly, just jumping off to what I said before, taking a very holistic approach to things. I am ecosystem focused, so you need to understand the entire value chain and linkages between that value chain. That being said, from the perspective where I see the biggest opportunities are, would be that segue of also addressing the changes you have in the market. The fact that as we are accelerating, jobs are being lost and there are huge gaps in the market. And this is where my startup actually focuses on very specifically bridging that gap, especially as we're moving into a world of, embedded finance and also climate action. So if you need to understand how to incorporate all the different elements of a digital financial market infrastructure, you can meet me at altschool.co. That's altschool.co with two S's in the middle. The other thing I'm really excited about is in the where people can focus on will be more on learning management systems. So that's an area of huge opportunity. People need to be more engaged, whether it's game-based learning type of management systems that can also track behavior as well as cloud-based. There's a startup that raised a lot, 43 million pounds, Learn Upon, their cloud-based learning management system, and they also track learning goals. So that's where we're heading in terms of tracking learning goals and doing adaptive learning as well. So that's a big area of focus. So you can reach me on LinkedIn, Telly. I'm also on Twitter, not as much, but I'm there, Taval. And of course, VCTV. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Telly. Karthik, over to you with your closing remarks, please.
So, like I said, sunrise industry, a lot of development expected in the next 3 to 4 years. Development primarily that helps enable and empower the bell curve, which is to identify the right talent, nourish the right talent, reward the right talent, and help eliminate or weed out the talent that is not required in the organization. Help measure performance goals, bring in a human touch to the entire process is something that every other investor should be looking at, and anybody who needs some help in this space, happy to support, even in terms of getting seed financing, because this is one category where I'm particularly interested. So happy to get involved even in seed financing.
Wow,
I'm available on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Sonny.
Thank you, Karthik. And so Karthik is available for seed financing, guys. You heard it right.
This is one category where I'm very, very keen.
Fantastic. Thank you, Karthik. Last but not least, Gary, over to you with your closing remarks.
Yay, great.
Yay.
So, think about it. AI is a new electricity, data is a fuel, and 5G, 6G is really the
turbocharger.
This is the greatest time. So each and every one of the startups out there, look at it. There's a lot of people that are working from their homes today. remote workforce management is extremely important. How to be able to have an integrated model, performance models, et cetera, that are all tied into making the people happy, right? Employees happy, and because we need the productivity. I've gone down through and done it over the last 4 years, started from scratch, and now have a near $1 billion company in the space. So I can tell you directly from my own ears, my own eyes, and the dirt under my fingernails. I had to go through and do it. Don't give up, move forward. It is a time, we've raised almost $20 million for my company. It works. So I'd be happy to talk. My company is Get Shit Done, GSD Venture Studios. We curate companies that have revenue, that are going global. And so I'm also an investor. I'm a curator. When I say curator, we take operational roles in companies. And I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on VCTV, LinkedIn, Twitter. I have a show every week. Actually, every other week, I pick the top AI company in the world. And on my show, every week, I take amazing people that have an impact on society through technology. So tune in, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Gary, so much. So we are right on time with the show today, finishing on time. Thank you so much, each of you, to make the sessions so special and informative. That's the beauty about VCTVs. I always say VCTVs always because of you, the commitment that you show to VCTV, and keep on coming back. Thank you so much for your time. So guys, we've come to the end of the show. On founders and startups who are looking to reach out to these speakers today we had of the session, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're going to connect you with them directly. And investors, please don't shy away. I mean, if you want to network with other like-minded investors, feel free to reach out to us, and we're going to connect you with these people as well. Thank you so much. And having said that, I just want to say goodbye. Stay safe. I would like to see you back on other shows on a different timings that we have and on different topics. Until then, take care and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You guys have a